Hello, friend. I hope you're having a very beautiful International Women's Day. I thought since this will be airing the day after International Women's Day, I would just drop by and quell all that positive energy by talking to you about why, most of the time, I can't stand Wonder Woman. Asterisk. I have to start by saying that my first interpretation or my first experience with this character has been the DCAU Susan Eisenberg Wonder Woman. And that's the standard for me, because not only is the character work and the power scaling and all of that like kind of technical character stuff in the DCAU so spot on and so much fun just to deal with. Wonder Woman's personality in the shows and the way she handles things, her relationships are interesting, her kind of home professional life is really interesting. We don't ever really see her like not as a superhero, but all the different ways that she has to balance that is always so interesting. The way she deals with the fact that she's been on her home island, Themyscira, for most of her life, and now she's dealing with all these different types of personalities and different people, different nations and mindsets and worldviews. That's all interesting. And just Susan Eisenberg's take on the character is such just like a strong, powerful, fun person. Like the interpretation is something that most girls, most little girls would want to be, would want to kind of envision. And just being a very independent, fun, strong character. Now, I want to say, with the exception of probably some brief cameos in like Harley Quinn or maybe in Young Justice, even though she doesn't really do much, DCAU is like the only good full-on interpretation of the character, I would say. Because there's like a huge issue with Wonder Woman, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't know where it keeps happening. I don't know at what stage of the development process it keeps happening whenever she comes into like an animated or a live action work, but there's kind of this idea, there seems to be this idea in the development process somewhere for her that, damn it, how did I word this last time? There seems to be this step in the development process where everything is going well and then something or someone is getting in the way there and just like squandering all the potential and just squanders the potential that she has in the story. Like, that's not it. Like, Wonder Woman is one of those properties or characters, franchises, whatever, where in theory it sounds amazing and it sounds like a no-brainer, but the execution is just bad. It's really bad. Now, I think most of that, I don't know. Most of it has to do, I think, with the way the character starts. Like, which origin story are you going with? Because that is going to motivate not only the rest of the actions of the character, but kind of the mindset and the emotions and the relationships that character has with other people moving forward. And really, when someone's doing Wonder Woman, it seems like there's one of two ways that they choose to portray her when it comes to her origin. The first way is she grows up on the island her whole life, and the Amazons on the island, they're aware of all of the events that have been happening in the rest of the outside world, but they choose to isolate themselves and say, that ain't my business. I don't get paid enough to deal with that, so I'm gonna stay right here and keep riding my horses or whatever they do. And then there's something that happens, and Diana is like, yo, we can't stay on the sidelines any longer. We gotta help. And they're like, no, we don't care. And so then she sneaks out and does her own thing, and the story starts. But the other way that keeps happening that is actually annoying is this idea that most of the Amazons on the island have no idea what's going on in the outside world, her Diana included. So for whatever reason, when Diana does decide to run away and help save mankind or join the outside world, she doesn't know anything. Like anything. She doesn't know how money works. She doesn't know how cars work. She doesn't know about planes. She doesn't know about anything. She doesn't know about the social structures. She doesn't know about misogyny. And it's so annoying. It's the worst thing to happen to superhero movies. And I say that having seen all of the Wolverine movies. It's the worst thing to happen to superhero movies. It's the most annoying thing because what it creates is almost like this bimbo-esque dynamic when it comes to Wonder Woman, where once she does join the outside world, she doesn't know how anything works. She's like, she's startled by moving cars. She, doesn't know what a gun is. She's just dumb. Like, it's not like an ignorance of ideas or technology or like they just make her just straight up dumb. I remember one scene in one of the animated Wonder Woman movies years ago where I think she's in DC and she sees some little girl with ice cream and she's like, what is this strange witchcraft type device? And the girl's like, bro, it's just ice cream. And she gives Diana some ice cream. She takes a bite and she's like, we must preserve ice cream at all costs. This ice cream will end wars, blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't funny. It's not funny. It wasn't done well, especially because that's the type of energy she gives to every single new thing she encounters throughout the movie. It doesn't come across as a cute little moment where she's trying to be extra entertaining to the little girl because they really didn't even have little girls on the island. So she wouldn't know how to do that either. Like, it feels very serious and she's very literal and everything. And it just makes her look dumb. It makes her look dumb and it's really annoying. And because she's so dumb when they do these movies and they give her this interpretation, she needs some other idiot who isn't from the island to explain to her every stupid thing around her because she's so dumb. And that's where we come into the real reason why I don't like these Wonder Woman interpretations. And the reason is Chris Pine. Okay, I don't know if it's Chris Pine. It might just be Steve. It might just be Steve. It's one of those things. I kind of have one of those things where you see something, you like watch a show or a movie that you don't like, and it kind of ruins an actor for you or a character. And the first Wonder Woman movie did like both of those things for me. So now I hate Steve Trevor and I don't really care for Chris Pine. I don't know what the problem is. I haven't seen any other Chris Pine movies or anything that could redeem him in my eyes, but I'm open to it. I'm waiting for it. But I hate Steve. So every time they have this stupid bimbo persona almost of Diana, Steve is always there to tell her, hey, idiot, don't you know there's a war going on? There's a war, the war. And Diana's so dumb, she's almost dumb enough to ask, what's war? But instead she's like, oh, man is at war? Well, we have to go help. And then she comes to the mainland and she's like, what are these magic boomsticks? And she's like, those are guns, Diana. What are these crazy fiery chariots? Those are cars, Diana. It's just so exhausting. And it's so unnecessary. And you're sitting there like, well, I know what these are. I don't actually have to sit here with you and learn it. And it just seems bizarre because not only does she not understand any of the basic technology that's the modern technology of the time, she also seems to be confused a lot of the times about like basic conflicts. She doesn't understand why the world is at war. She doesn't understand why people fight and kill each other and do all this stuff. And a lot of the times when they go this route, she doesn't seem to understand like social cues or have an understanding of sex or romance or anything like that at all. Like absolutely no understanding of it, which is irritating because as far as the conflict goes, you have to have some understanding. You are just dumb if you don't understand how conflict or war happens, especially because it's not just like the Amazons just sit on an island and don't do anything and just like, you know, screw around and just train. Like, they're not a bunch of muscle heads. They are supposed to be very well educated. They're supposed to be basically the whole package. They're supposed to be the whole package. They're supposed to be tough, strong, they're beautiful, they're big, they're smart, they got big brains. So the education is there to understand conflict. And they also have their own legends and stories and fables. And for them, you know, Greek mythology is the real deal. Like, it happened. So you have some understanding of conflict because the gods are always in conflict with one another, or causing conflicts with humans, or bothering humans, or just picking on humans because they're bored or horny. Like, the resources are there to have a basic understanding of why some things are happening. You may not exactly know that, like, you know, the Archduke of Ferdinand, you know, got murdered, but you understand why or how war happens and how there's that. Like, even the social cue thing doesn't make that much sense to me because, again, you have stories of like all of Zeus's shenanigans. You have stories of like Hades and Persephone and whatever the hell the other ones are, you know, or Penelope, whatever. You have those resources as well. So like things like romance shouldn't be completely foreign to you. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Or even like the love that you have amongst your sisters, like all of that basic information is available to you. But then when as soon as she gets on that plane, she just lost her damn mind. And so to me, Steve just always feels completely unnecessary, completely in the way, just completely useless. And I don't know if they're trying to do some kind of reversal of the damsel in distress when they put Steve in there, but it's just as irritating. The whole trope needs to just go away. No one wants to see some big dumb idiot constantly in the way, getting doe-eyed every time they see a main character, and then also being useless and in the way and interrupting any real plot or any real thing going on because now we have to stop what we're doing and save you because you're an idiot. Like, that doesn't work, and it doesn't work in any gender. It doesn't work any way you flop it. They're just normalize getting rid of useless characters. That's what I want. And the whole time I'm watching this first Wonder Woman movie from like, I don't know, 2017, I'm just thinking, this would be so much better if Steve wasn't here. If Steve wasn't here, this movie would be a solid 9, maybe even a 10, because he really just wasn't necessary. I don't know if it would have been better if it was a woman and not a man, but I really don't think so. I think just having someone there who's really not on her level, like power or skill wise, that's just there to explain to her very basic things, it's annoying. And when that man, spoiler, died at the end of the first movie, I was so glad. I was like, thank goodness he's gone. Maybe someone else here understands that this was a useless character. This was a waste of Chris Pine. And we don't have to deal with him next time. I don't have to see him in Justice League. I won't have to see him in Wonder Woman 2. I won't have to see him if she decides to cameo on a Flash movie or a Cyborg movie. That's the dream right there. That's the goal. So imagine the way my lifespan decreased by about 30 years when I saw the headline that he was coming back for the sequel film. I said, why? I said, how? I said, why again? And I said, why did you do this to me? It feels intentional. It feels intentional that you would do this because I straight up said for years, the only thing standing in the way of the first movie was in fact Steve Trevor. But you do this to me again? You threatened me for a second time with physical assault? It hurts. It hurts so bad. And I said, okay, well, you know, maybe this is just like one of those things they do in a TV show where they announce that a character who died last season, you know, their actor is going to come back as a recurring character for the next season. And you're thinking, okay, maybe, you know, someone's going to be in grief and they're going to be hallucinating you, or maybe your ghost is going to come and haunt somebody in like a good way or a bad way. And then you'll only be sprinkled in maybe 2 or 3 times the whole season. That was my best hope. So when I finally had to watch this stupid movie, of course, he's like at the heart of every single event for no reason. And I can't even say he ruined the movie this time, because the whole movie was just atrocious. The whole movie was a mess. Which was... yeah, it was more devastating that the whole movie was bad than just having Chris Pine back and being annoying. Yeah, the whole movie was bad, which was really upsetting. But the fact that he comes back, more spoilers. So I thought maybe they would at least bring him back in some kind of in DC universe way. Like maybe somebody dragged his stupid carcass and dropped him in a Lazarus pit. Or maybe Diana went back home and molded his stupid face out of clay and made herself a new man. Or maybe... I don't know. There are options. There are like in-universe options. But no. They make up this stupid monkey's paw type thing. And for some reason, Diana wishes on this stupid monkey's paw for her stupid boyfriend that she knew for like 1 week, 60 years ago, to come back to life, because she just can't go on without him. She didn't even try, but she can't go on without him. Gotta have him back. And so they don't bring back his stupid corpse in true monkey's paw fashion, his stupid old scary skeleton corpse that's 60 years old. Instead, they rip his soul out of the river Styx, wherever the hell it was, and they shove it into somebody who's already like a living, breathing person. And we never find out what the consequences of that are to the actual breathing man who had a whole life in an apartment and a well-paying job. We don't find out what happens to him. Because Chris Pine is in his body now, this whole man misses like at least a week of work. And I'm like, maybe he left the oven on, maybe he had a big presentation, maybe he was supposed to pick up his kid and he just didn't. Like, we don't know. And we never even... Wait, there's no consequences. There's no nothing. And it was so unnecessary because it's just... I hate him so much. It's so unnecessary. Nobody was... I don't know who was begging for Chris Pine, Steve Trevor to make this dramatic ass comeback, but I know I wasn't that individual. He comes back and they literally just screw around the whole movie, and it's the same as before. He's just following her around, but instead Diana is showing him the new technologies in the way of the world, as if I cared. And just the whole movie, the whole storyline between the two of them really felt intentional against me, because I've been saying for years the worst part of the first movie was in fact I don't have anything against Chris Pine. I should be saying Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor brought the whole movie down, and all I want for the second movie is for no Steve Trevor. And so what do? Not only do they bring his ass all the way back into the movie, but literally, instead of him metaphorically bringing down the Wonder Woman property, now he's literally bringing down Wonder Woman with him, because the longer that he's alive body snatching this other man's life, the weaker Diana gets. Wishing this idiot back to life is slowly sapping her powers away from her, so she's just a regular ass bitch now. And now we're stuck with Chris Pine. And even Chris Pine is like, you know what, man? I'm kind of ruining things here. I should probably go. And she's like, no. I can't be without you, Steve. I can't do this without you. And he's like, are you sure? Because you're like, you're a demigod, right? Like, you're unstoppable, essentially. She's like, no. I don't want to be a demigod if I can't have you, Steve. And I'm like, what is he bringing? I don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't see it. It doesn't make sense. It's weird. It doesn't fit. It's exhausting. Steve is exhausting. He's exhausting, and I hate it. So that's the story of how I was personally wronged by the entire Wonder Woman property. I hope you enjoyed this. How do you feel about Steve Trevor? Is there anybody out there who can explain 4 times Steve Trevor did something useful that couldn't have been done by anybody else? If you can find that, I'll do something. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Something will happen. Something for sure will happen, because I would love to know. If you can prove it to me, I'd be very impressed, and I'd do something spectacular to celebrate knowing something useful the Steve could contribute. So you should subscribe. You should subscribe, and you should like the video, and you should wash your hands and season your food, and you should not be nasty.